competitive threat because we have a lot of competition, we have the lost supplier, and of course, a lot of threat. And we change the competitive price also. We talk about global forces, including the decreased importance of direct labor costs and the new cost priority. What does it mean? Increased capital intensity of production facility. Political and economical forces, this also including the structure, the government, the politics, exchange rate, trade restriction, and trade agreement liberalization. And one of the factors that also impact a lot nowadays that is technological force. Because of the development of technology, the know-how, there is a lot advanced in manufacturing, transaction, and communication. So technical knowledge can be shared across the country, across the boundary, interim technology, and we have to define the location of research and development globally. If we can go further in detail, for the global markets force, refer to the both foreign country and customer. And the firm react to the foreign competitor market in entry by approaching the competitor home market. Of course, we want to open the market. We have to approach the new country, approach the competitor in the home markets. And foreign market often offer the higher demand for a product, which is particularly valuable when the local market is saturated. Of course, when local market is saturated, we have to think how to develop the new market, because we open up the new demand, we open up the new supply, especially when our local market is saturated. We are forced to reach out the foreign market. And demand for foreign product has been heightened by free information flows and wide exposure through the internet. Especially now, internet is open. So that's why the demand of the foreign product has been heightened by free information. Everyone can reach out the information they need from the internet. So that's why there is the open market for the global. This also an opportunity, and that is also a process. Technological forces refer to the change in the source of other development. In a new high industrialized country start to play a major role in providing the new technology. Of course, we revive in the new industrialized country or the high development country, because those countries are leading in technology, and the opportunity for inter-firm collaboration. So we have to collaborate with other countries to get the new technology. There's some other force, one of the four forces, that is the global cost. The global cost forces refer to cost of the labor, the choice on where the location that we have to put in the production facility. The increased interest is not only unskilled labor, also the low-cost skilled labor. Example, like in India, we consider as low-cost country. And the labor cost saving sometimes is not just only the cost for the unskilled labor, but we have to think about all the overridden costs increased by because of they are unskilled, that we have to spend a lot of time and effort for training, and they are low developing country, they have the bureaucratic government structure and the low infrastructure as well. We have to think on the cost relevant to that, to think about that the global cost forces. Another factor in the four forces that is political and economical forces that related to exchange rates, that related to the government, the structure. The firm may benefit from locating facility within the market instead of importing into it. Or, on the other hand, growing trend toward the trade liberalization offer easier market access. So we have to, political and economical force is also another force among the four forces in the global sourcing. Globalization, supply chain. For many companies, supply chain activity are the key to gain a competitive advantage. Why? Because they focus on opportunity. They focus on opportunity in the global market, and they focus on the need for type of compression strategy in order to cope with the shorter product life cycle. And they have the provision of tailored service for customer. They are speedy to satisfy the customer by customization, tailor fit. And think about the globalization, the strategy of supply chain, they have to focus on those factors. And especially for rapid communication with customer and supplier, because they have the connection between the demand and the supply. They have, if we want to maximize the competitive advantage of the strategy, globalization, we have to focus on those factors. Opportunity in the global market, the need for high compression strategy, provision for tailor fit, and the rapid communication between the customer and the supplier. How to achieve the competitive advantage? First, we have to understand what is the competitive advantage. A competitive advantage is an advantage that is sustainable over a long period and reliant on a system of capability rather than a single capability. So competitive advantage, we are talking about a long term, a benefit long term, and that rely on a system rather than a single capability. And the following has been identified as the opportunity for gaining competitive advantage. In order to achieve competitive advantage, we have to think about globalization. And that is the key in the topic that we are talking about us today. how to integrate the global market and what is the competition time space. Now, globalization. Globalization today have the opportunity to be the global company regarding the world as potential market or source of supply, because we think globally, the whole global as one market, and we consider that is a big market, a potential market of source, and because of the market, we can buy and we can sell. That's why it's not only to buy, but we can also to sell in that potential market globally. Many companies are finding competitive advantage through catering to the world market while coordinating disparate procurement, manufacturing, and logistic activity. So the globalization, when we talk about globalization, we consider the whole world as a big market in which we can buy and we can sell in many things. We can coordinate disparate procurement, manufacturing, and logistic activity. Number two, the integration. Supply chain member need to be integrated in terms of their process, activity, and system. Because we cannot work alone. That's why we have to be in the system. And in order to use the same language, the same technology, we have to standardize the process and we have to align on the activity. Integration is vital for a company operating internationally, especially if you work about some multinational company, you will experience about the integration. The whole company, regardless you are in the west or you are in the east, you are in the north or in the south, it's work the same way, the same processes, the same expectation, the same methodology. So for international company, integration is very important. Advantage of integration includes improved quality, innovation sharing, and as of that, they can reduce the cost and improve the scheduling of production and delivery. If we have integration, you can have a lot of advantage to learn and to share, to improve quality, to improve scheduling. We can improve the quality of the product. We can improve the schedule of delivery. And that is the benefit of integration. Level of integration, internal integration. So we have to align and work internally. And we have external integration and capability integration and relationship integration. So the whole system to be integrated. So, and because of that, we can maximize the strength, we can utilize the quality, we can share the innovation. And we take the advantage from one place to the other We have to learn and share the experience. We don't need to repeat in the same mistake because of the system is integrated and we can learn and share across the country. Level of internal integration. People say that internal integration is the very first step in achieving the effective supply chain integration. If we cannot make internal integration, is no way that we can extend. That's why we have to make the first step very strong and to be effective in the supply chain. That is the internal integration. The company integration structure have to be aligned and integrated. Internal function must align along the processes that lead to the specific product and value. That means we have internal process and because of the integration of internal process that can lead to a specific product consistently, and we have the value of the service consistently and improve. And integration, internal integration have the goal, meaning the goal must align to an overarching corporate strategy. When we have the internal integration, from the top to the bottom, speak in the same language. We have the goal aligned from corporate level to organization, to department, to individual. So the goal that we talk about SM, objective, goal, strategy, measure, it aligns from the top to the bottom, from the corporate strategy to the department to individual. And if we have internal integration, the communication barrier could be reduced. We don't need to waste a lot of time for the communication barrier because we had internal integration. People understand what must be done appropriately in accordance to the company procedure. And the communication barrier must be reduced between activity to enhance information flow through the organization. If we have internal integration, we don't waste a lot of time because of the miscommunication, because people understanding in the same language, people understanding the same expectation. Besides internal integration, we have external integration. External integration can only occur when internal integration functional strategy has been aligned. We align in-house first, and then we extend. So the external integration can only occur if we have internal language, if we align functional strategy. And there must be consistent competitive goal, objective, criteria across the supply chain without the conflict priority. That means people speak in the same language. People align what are the competitive goals for them, objective for them. And they don't, one is not conflict the others. And because of that, cost reduction at the expense of the other supply chain member. Transfer cost to the end customer leading to the higher price. Company have to take the consideration of all cost within the supply chain. This means whatever the supply chain do from the start to the stop, the end customer have to shoulder on the cost. That's why as a supply chain member, we have to do whatever it takes to minimize the cost at the end. On the company, nowadays they take supply chain as the competitive advantage. And when we talk about competitive advantage, at the end of the day, the end customer, they pay the money that value. So we have to bring the cost of the product, the cost of the service, that good for the money the end customer willing to spend. This slide gives you some idea of the cost pipeline from the seller to the user. If you look at here, we have some valve, control valve, control the costs. And from the seller, they have the raw material, the lot size, the frequency, the pump, and we have the control valve. This control valve, they control how much is the store size, what is the inventory, how much is the cost of handling capacity, this is the main store. And then they do on the transport capacity, another valve for the cost. Transport capacity, they pump from main store to the world store. Store size, inventory, handling capacity, etc. All the requirement here, they come from main store to the world store. And then from the store, the retail come to the user. So the cost pipeline at the end of the day, we see here the flow of raw material and the cost that supply chain is going to spend. And at the end, it's shoulder onto the shoulder of the user. The user have to pay everything. And the competitive advantage that we have to do at the supply chain, we contribute how much we can minimize the cost for them at the end. Everything we do, the cost and the risk, and how can we balance the cost and the risk so we can deliver to the end customer, the end consumer at the end at the best cost that it can be. We have seen this slide, some previous lecture, balance the cost and the risk. Any question so far? This slide gives you some symbol picture of supply chain. You see here from raw material supplier, and this is the end final consumer, the one who is going to pay for the product that you deliver to them. And from raw material supplier place, go through the manufacturer. They make the component. And then they go to assembler to make the final product. And they go from the final product, they go to retailer. And then they deliver to the final customer. And the whole flow here is controlled by logistics, transport, storage, packing, handling. Everything that we do here, that is a simple supply chain from raw material to final product. And our job is how to minimize the cost along the way here. How can we buy the supplier, buy the raw material from the best supplier? Good quality, good price, good delivery time, etc. And what can we make for the component? We had the production. What is the services? After that, what transportation that we can use to deliver from here to here? How can we do the assembly fast enough, cheap enough, good enough, and how fast we can deliver to the retailer and then to the final customer. So everything we do here, that we are spending money of the end consumer. Our job again is to minimize the cost, to maximize the value at the end. This slide gives you an overall picture of world-class supply chain management. If we are doing supply chain, it's as simple as that. We connect from the supply to the demand, and we do logistic management in between. The whole circle here, supply chain management, world class. How can we connect the demand to the supply by a logistic management? As simple, but a lot of work. And in order to maximize the benefit of world-class supply chain management, most of the time nowadays, people source worldwide. Why? Because of the cost and the price benefit. Because we thought that global market is unlimited. We have a sort of potential supplier. We have a sort of raw material with cost price benefit. If we have several suppliers, that then we can do. It's always good that you have alternative rather than you go with the sole source. Sometimes that some special product or special services that we go with sole source, but most of the time, the most competitive advantage that we can have if we have alternative. And if we approach a lot of supplier in the market, we can access new product, new technology. And of course, we have better quality. We have other choices. Then we can have only one or two. So we go with worldwide sourcing because we have better cost, we have alternative, and we have better quality, schedule, and at the end of technology. And we can have the interconnection with a foreign market. And those are clearly benefit that we can see: lower cost, good technology, improved supplier relationship, we have better responsiveness, we have a better appreciation of purchasing. And if we go with global sourcing, we can go with better management of inventory. Inventory is that money. So if we go with global sourcing, we can have the combination. We can have the central inventory. We can have focus place. We have the standardize of the sourcing process. If we go with global sourcing, we can standardize. We have higher material component or service quality, and especially we can have information sharing. Nowadays, information is money. If we share information, people can learn experience and they can avoid with the mistake. They don't need to repeat the same mistake at the same time. We go from international to global purchasing. We have different level from domestic, international, and global. And we go from level to level, from low level to medium level and to a higher level. From level 1, engage a domestic sourcing only. Level 2, we engage in international as needed. Number 3, we extend more international purchasing as part of the sourcing strategy. And then level 4, integration and coordination across the worldwide buying business. And level 5, we are here that we can integrate and coordinate with other function groups globally. We extend from domestic to international to global. Why do we extend from domestic to international? When the domestic supplier is limited and we have no suitable domestic supplier, we have to look out. And if we look out, the overseas supplier nowadays, they offer more competitive advantage than only the domestic supplier. Information globally, and we have selection issue, we have a culture understanding, logistic issue, etc. So we have some challenge and some domestic when we extend from domestic to international purchasing. But at the same time, it offers a huge benefit if we extend more. That's why nowadays you learn to extend more your capability. You learn more knowledge to get ready for global sourcing. And how can we approach information about worldwide source? We look for international industrial directory. We watch out trade shows. We have trading company. We have third-party support, and we have trade consulates. In each country, they have consulates, and we can get in touch with them to gain more information from other countries. Any questions so far? If not, we continue with globalization challenge. Challenge of globalization we know that there are a lot of benefit if we extend purchasing from domestic to international to global. But at the same time, we also face with challenging. Number one, we have several elements that affect by international challenging, international sourcing. A number of elements in the supply chain are affected by an organization decision internationalized. Number one, inventories. Inventory meeting local needs require higher variety, but this often leads to a large inventory. If we prepare to do the business internationally, we have to think about big inventory. We have to think about how control country-specific regulation when we handling the material. And what about the infrastructure? How much will it cost for the transportation from one place to the others? Those are some elements that affected by international business, and the challenge in the environmental and globally. Logistic operation nationally have to face with the following challenges: extended and unreliable lead time. Because we are doing the business globally, we have to depend on a lot of company, logistic company, a lot of transportation mode. That's why the lead time is unreliable. We have to foresee the unreliable, but we have to do the evaluation to select the reliable transportation service provider. Multiple consolidation and flexible option, and multiple freight mode and cost option, and meeting country or really region-specific demand requirement. So those are the factors that all impact in international business, that all the element, the challenging that facing in the global environment that impact. When we are doing sourcing globally, we have to think about those factors. And in order to solve the facing challenging, an organization, we have to think about the strategy, and we can follow a number of approaches to increase their competitiveness in international market. They have to make the focused factory where they can play the location of the factory, because the investment cannot spread everywhere. So they have to focus factory where they play the production, where the good can be transferred one place to the other. And in order to do that, they have to do analysis where to put the factory, where to put the warehouse, to centralize the inventory and postponement. And we can learn about what are the approaches that we can do when we face with the challenging in the global environment. What does it mean for the focused factory? Focused factory are structured around a product instead of location. And Production at a central facility cut manufacturing costs, but it also leads to rise in transportation costs and rise in local inventory costs and increase the lead time. But that is the selection. Like I said, because every factory, it got a lot of money. That's why we have to analyze and we have to make decision wisely. Where is the focus factory? And remember, if we do the central facility, do the focus factory, we may ride with the transportation cost one place to the others. And of course, inventory cost is follow. We have to consider where to put the production, where to do the warehouse. And most of the time, the warehouse it go together with the production closely. But then we have to think about the lead time to deliver from one place to the others. Those are the factors that we consider when we place the focus factory. The second is centralized inventory. Centralized inventory is we put the inventory in the center. And centralized inventory had the advantage of reducing duplication and safety stock cost, allowing the balance beach demand across the region and decreasing cost of delivery. But remember, centralized inventory, the cost might sell, but not sometimes it's not sufficient where the specialized transportation are lead to the eccentric. That means sometimes the infrastructure is so bad, then centralized inventory might not be a very good option. So we have to think about inventory, centralized inventory, and transportation costs from one place to the other. And the third option could be postponement, meaning the final customization of the product is delayed until the actual customer is identified. That means until we get the actual order, then we customize the production. Individual or regional design are based on a certain common component and design. And more generic inventory with less stock variable is possible. Forecasting becomes easier as the product basic is generic and interchangeable. I mean that standard item. So we make everything ready, but then we examine, we customize everything when we get the actual order. That it means for the postponement. We don't make the final production and we put it in the warehouse and we sit there and we wait for the final customer. No. Postponement is an idea of just in time. Until we get the final customer, we identify the customization. And with doing that, we can customize the product at the low cost to the final customer. Any questions so far? When we are doing supply, we have the term direct contact. Direct contact should be chosen after a comprehensive cost and benefit analysis outlining that either we want to manage our customer, our supplier directly, or we do it via an agent, or we do it into some service provider. So the direct contact we choose after we do some cost and benefit analysis. Based on the organization have to be confident in the quality of the partner product and the service. If we can find a supplier or a service provider, they can do faster, cheaper, then why not we choose them as our agent or third party? Or in some cases, we do the direct contact, we do direct management if we do see the benefit of cost analysis. Independent assessment of the business environment and the practice in the partner country should be undertaken. The cost involved when we do the cost and the benefit analysis, remember, not only the price, not only the cost, but all hidden expense, travel expense, communication, bureaucracy, training, infrastructure, etc. So we have to consider all the cost related in the analysis to select whether we do direct contact or we do by intermediaries. Direct contact involves the lowest cost of entering the new markets, while intermediaries simplify the ease in the process of the global sourcing. Assuming that we are here and we do the market somewhere here. So we want to do the direct contact or we do use our local partner to do that for us. Normally for a company, when they enter the new market, they use the local. They use the local to understand the market. They use the local to understand the culture. And over time, when the organization will acquire the international knowledge and the advantage, then they do the direct contact. But at the very beginning, they can use intermediaries until they can gain knowledge and experience in the local market. Intermediary can take a range of roles. Relationship between both sides should be based trust and confidence. Of course, when we select some agent or we select some partner, we should base on the trust and confidence. We trust them that they can deliver our expectation at a good quality at the right time with the right price. And this intermediary could be selected on the basis of demonstrate they have the technical knowledge, they have competence, reliability, and efficiency based on the good tracking record. As simple as we do on the evaluation, we consider on the factor, on the criteria, on the quality that we expect, and we do the evaluation before we select them. The option of licensing an agent can also be explored. So as simple as when we do select the agent or select the service provider, then we have some key steps. Step number one, determine which appropriation are going to delegate to the agent. Step number two, we pre-select the agent that specialize in the product and operation you require. And then step number three, you compare the agent's cost, their service quality, select the best offer, negotiate and condition. Step one, step two, step three, we have learned a lot in previous. We do the pre-qualification of the supplier, and we do send to the supplier the RFP. We collect their proposal and we do evaluation. And we present to management for selection. And we summarize step one, step two, step three. The way that we select an agent is exactly the same that we select any supplier. Either we buy the good or the service. In that case, agent here meaning that they are our representative. They are on behalf of us to work directly with supplier approach. This is a slide can help you to see the overall picture of how to select an agent and representative to work on behalf of your company approach. If you look at here, you can see the overall picture. You define a good in war unit. You select a transport mode to carry the good in war unit. Select the offer to pursue. Now, depend on the good in war unit, you can define what is the Euromodal multimodal transported unit, what is the freight forwarder, who are the custom clearance agents, okay? And you look at here, the cost of the transport option, including the service, you mean the cost here, that including the cost and the service. The cost and include the service, including packaging and insurance, custom warehousing, advice handling, custom import and export formality. So if you identify these are the work of the in-war product unit and you define what do you need, okay? Then include all the service that require from the service provider, the agent or the representative. Then you see that who are the agent and representative can do the best of all of this before you select them, because the agent or the press representative will work on your behalf. Everything. Okay. And of course, when we do the evaluation, we own the performance. When we select the agent or the representative, we also have the performance feedback, the feedback for continuous improvement. And this slide gives you the overall picture how you can select a good agent and representative in other countries. Any questions so far? Now, advantage of operating in the global environment. Why we do have to spend effort to work on global environment? Because there are a lot of huge advantages. In the global market include economic of scale. Most of the time that we can have a lower cost, lower cost, and we increase sales and profits. We have greater opportunity to find better supplier because that is a huge market. A lot of supplier, a lot of buyer, a lot of things that you can buy and you can sell. And that's why we spend time and effort to extend to the global market. And advantage of operating in the global market is we can maximize the advantage, we can maximize the benefit, so we can optimize the cost. And at the end, we give the value, we give that value to our end customer. And when we do the global, working in the global environment, we can take advantage of a new technology. We can take advantage of advanced technology in product, in process. People can share and learn a lot of things. We can maximize the benefit from our supplier, and we can reduce the cost. We can gain the faster delivery, faster, cheaper. These are the benefits to work in the global market. A lot of benefit, but still risk that we have to be aware to minimize. Number one, when we work in the global market, that is the fluctuation of exchange rate. We have to be careful when we do international business. Exchange rate of currency fluctuation every day. And not only fluctuation, inflation rate also a factor. That is a risk factor when we do the business globally. And political and social issues, cultural differences, communication, language also. If you doing the business with China, and if you know Chinese, that is an advantage. Transportation damage, fuel rate, judicial risk, and influence of local government. every time that we have a change in government structure, then always the big influence risk when doing the business. Foreign company entering the domestic market. So a lot of foreign company entering domestic market in Vietnam. And even the Vietnamese company, they also trying to extend their business in other countries, in US, in China, in Burma, in Cambodia, etc. Now, a lot of risk, but how can we reduce it? How can we minimize it? The risk related to global trading can be reduced by the following. Number one, we had a straightforward information and process. When we are doing global trading, we don't have time to play around. So we have to straightforward information and process. We have constant communication and confirmation. And we have good record keeping and authorization of staff member. Document management. So working internationally, you have to be good in tracking record. You have to be good in documentation. You have to be good in straightforward communication and process, and keep constant and consistent communication and confirmation. Working internet globally, we have to lift up our professionalism. We have to be professional. Now, strategy to reduce risks. We have firm number of strategy when dealing with foreign market. Speculative strategy, hedge strategy, flexible strategy, and a substantial risk reduction has been achieved by developing economic political alliance to promote trade liberalization. So some country they form economic and political alliance to support each other. Example, European, Asian, Asia Pacific, etc. So we had to form the market to support each other. Import, export. Doing global sourcing, we face with import, export, very familiar. Export, the firm sell it good or service to another country, and import it from bringing into its home country good and service from other country. As simple, but when doing import, export, documentation, it must be accurate and must be complete. Because doing import export, if you are not accurate, your documentation is not accurate and it's not complete, you cannot get in or to get out of the custom. Accuracy or incompleteness of documentation or late delivery can lead to the delays of clearance in payment and losses, legal action, and sometimes fine at the end. Every document should be scrutinized for authenticity, deadline for presentation and expiry date, and conformity with contract and credit requirement. So when we are doing international business, the document must be accurate, complete. The contract must be accurate and complete, and every document must be scrutinized for all the factors that I just talked about. This slide have you a summary of a step you need to bring product from abroad to your home country. Step number 1, confirm the required quality, quantity of the product to be supplied. Step number 2, you have to identify, agree who will provide and pay for the transport, insurance, other services. So we learned the transportation in the chapter transportation and delivery. Who will pay the cost and pay the risks? When and where? Number 3, agree the most appropriate term and mode of payment. You pay by credit, letter of credit, you pay by cash, and you pay by whatever. Okay? Step number 4, agree to any relevant special pre-shipment or delivery requirement or condition. And establish when and where the good will become your responsibility, where you transfer the cost and the good, where you transfer the risk and the cost. We learn about that. And step number 6, agree on jurisdiction that apply to the contract, the settlement, the procedure in case of any dispute happen. Any question so far for the 6 fundamental steps to complete when importing a good from abroad? Remember that 6 fundamental steps for import. Now, when you are doing global sourcing, most of the time you have to do international contract. And last time we learned about legal and ethics, and we learned about the contract. International contracts are subject to greater risk than national contract. Of course, if you do some buying good in your home country and you dealing with your local supplier, then it's much simpler than you do international business, international contract with a foreign supplier. When you are doing international contract, you are facing the risk with the likelihood of damage or deterioration of goods is greater. The dispute involving different legal systems. We learn about several legal systems, and the contract where it happened, which legal system they have to follow, and if anything unexpected happen, they have to go to the court where the court should be. So that have to be mentioned in the legal contract. And in international contract, good contract that including the 7 item. I summarize this for you. Number one, buyer obligation. What is the obligation of the buyer? What is the seller obligation? What are the product descriptions? Okay, the quantity and the quality of the product. Incoterm related to the transport. Incoterm, we have 11 term Incoterm last time that we learned, and how we are going to pay, how the buyer is going to pay, which currency, by how much or by when, and finally in the remedies. If anything happen, how can they resolve it? So these are the key thing in the international contract. Give you as a guidance. This slide gives you a summary of a major participant in international transaction who will be involved. Flow of goods, and this is the flow of information. This is the flow of information, and this is the flow of goods. You see here who will be involved from the seller to the buyer. And from the seller, go to the export facilitator. Go to the inland transportation carrier. And then it go to domestic port and terminal of assist. Then it go to international carrier. Then it go to foreign port terminal of entry. After the carrier, they go here. Then they go to foreign inland transportation carrier, and it go to foreign buyer. This show you the flow of goods, and from here it go with the flow of information. It go from domestic bank, and then it go to domestic government agency, and then it go to foreign government agency, and it go to foreign bank. How going to pay? Buyer to pay the seller. Any question so far regarding this? If not, then we continue with some logistic issue. Logistic issue, of course, when we do global sourcing, we are taking a lot of advantage from global market, but then we also face with logistic issue, lack of knowledge and skill concerning global sourcing. It's not there yet at the time that we go from domestic to international. And then we continue extending our expectation doing the global sourcing, doing the global market, and then knowledge and skill is not there. Resistant to change, of course, because it's not there, we're not familiar with, then there's some resistance to change. Of course, when we are doing global sourcing, then we're facing with the longer lead time. Different business custom. language and culture, and a lot of hidden costs, a lot of currency fluctuation, a lot of currency inflection, and then Incoterm, reference chapter 7, transportation and delivery, that we can learn, and resistant to change because of different routine sourcing pattern, shipping from long distance supplier, cosmetic market nationalism. Then we face with longer lead time, extend material pipeline, forecasting over long horizon, and we need more closely managed delivery day, possibly of transit and custom delay, greater logistical, political, and financial risk, etc. So when we are doing international business, it's very good that we have to manage delivery time, and we have to manage along the way. So the goods from where to where, they always have we have to manage them from the way they left the port, they travel to where, and until when they arrive our place. To manage the longer lead time is challenging when we are dealing with international business. Doing international business, we face with the culture issue also. Business practice, every country is not the same. On top of different language, on top of different culture. So we need to work with them closely, and we have to learn about negotiation style and manage international relationship. That's what I keep repeating my people. Any questions so far on top of language difference, of course, then documentation. I keep repeating, doing international business, it is very important to keep documentation, tracking, completeness, accuracy, okay? Letter of credit, multiple bill of lading, doc receipt, import license, certificate of origin, certificate of insurance, packing list, commercial invoice, etc. Everything here is need to be completed. Any questions so far? Okay, if not, then we continue a little bit about the cost of international purchasing. What included? Common cost for international purchasing is the same comparison to the comparable to cost in domestic sourcing, including, of course, purchase price, tooling charge, transportation from the supplier to the buyer. International transaction cost, additional cost over above domestic sourcing. And international transaction cost include base price, tooling, packaging, escalating, transportation, custom duty, insurance premium, payment term, etc. So all kind of costs that included if we do international business, that all included. So some costs, if we do cosmetics, is not included. If we do some purchasing in the local country, we don't need to pay custom, export and import custom. We don't need to pay what about that fluctuation or inflation, because everything included. Sometimes we don't need to pay transportation costs because we buy the good or the service at the DDB. Delivery duty paid. Okay, so the Incoterm that specify how much we pay, what we pay, when we pay, and everything in the contract of international contract. International transaction costs that including additional fee and commission, port terminal and handling fee, custom broker fee, taxes, communication cost, payment currency fee, and inventory carrying costs. So everything included. Port terminal handling fee, I can list now, loading and unloading, custom, clearance, documentation, etc. And currency risk, we talked about that already. Fluctuation, inflation, we buy purchase in US dollar, we share currency fluctuation, and currency adjustment contract clause. In some case, in some contract, currency adjustment. If the currency change too much, we can have the renegotiation of the price. Or currency hacking, finance treasury department expertise and tracking currency movement. These are some risks in currency exchange, and we can discuss and negotiate with the supplier to minimize it. Other logistic issue, like we can extend the pipeline, additional planning, management, blah, blah, blah. You can read more. Any questions so far? If not, then we can take about 10-minute break. After that, we come back. Okay, we take 10-minute break. Thank you.
Recording stopped.
Hello. Okay, let me come back to the class, and I'll take a few minutes to check your participation for today. I read your name and you just say yes, okay? Cao Đoàn Trúc Phương Anh.
Yes.
Thank you. Cao Thị Minh Anh. Cao Thị Minh Anh ạ.
Yes.
Thank you. Từ Thục Anh. Từ Thục Anh.
Yes.
Nguyễn Thị Minh Ánh.
Yes, teacher.
Lê Phạm Hồng Ân.
Yes, teacher.
Thank you. Nguyễn Thế Bảo.
Yes.
Trần Như Bình. Trần
Yes,
Như Bình.
teacher.
Thank you.
Yes, teacher.
Nguyễn Linh Chi. Nguyễn Linh Chi. Nguyễn Linh Chi vắng ạ. Bùi Công Danh.
Yes, teacher.
Đặng Thu Dung.
Yes, I'm here, teacher.
Okay, thank you. Giang Mỹ Hạnh.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. Lê Nguyễn Hồng Hạnh. Lê Nguyễn Hồng Hạnh em.
Yes, teacher.
Thank you. Nguyễn Thị Mỹ Hạnh.
Yes, teacher.
Thank you. Nguyễn Thị Xuân Hân.
Yes, teacher.
Hồ Ngọc Việt Hoàng. Phan Thanh Huyền.
Yes, teacher.
Trịnh Quỳnh Hương. Trịnh Quỳnh Hương. Nguyễn Thụy Khanh. Nguyễn Thụy Khanh ạ. Bùi Tuấn Kiệt. Bùi Tuấn Kiệt. Trần Thiên Kim.
Yes, teacher.
Thank you. Nguyễn Đặng Phương Lam.
Yes, I'm here.
Vũ Thanh Sơn Lâm.
Yes, teacher.
Thank you. Xin lỗi. Trần Nguyễn Hoàng Lan.
Yes, teacher.
Thank you. Lê Hoàng Thảo Linh. Lê Hoàng Thảo Linh ạ. Nguyễn Khánh Linh.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. Nguyễn Trần Khánh Linh. Nguyễn Trần Khánh Linh ạ. Trần Ngọc Hiền Linh.
Trương Ngọc Huyền Linh ạ.
Trương Ngọc Huyền Linh, xin lỗi em.
Yes,
Lê Hữu Hoàng Long. Lê Hữu Hoàng Long ạ. Nguyễn Thành Long. Nguyễn Thành Long không có à. Trần Võ Hoàng Long.
Yes.
Thank you. Nguyễn Phương Mai.
Yes.
Thank you. Phạm Ngọc Xuân Mai.
Yes, teacher.
Thank you. Trần Thị Thanh Mai.
Yes, teacher.
Thank you. Bùi Nguyễn Quang Minh.
Yes, here.
Thank you. Nguyễn Đặng Ngọc Minh.
Yes.
Thank you. Nguyễn Huy Khánh Minh.
Yes, teacher.
Thank you. Nguyễn Phan Hoàng Minh.
Yes, teacher.
Phạm Nhật Minh. Phạm Nhật Minh. Trần Thảo My.
Yes, teacher.
Thank you. Hồ Yến Na.
Yes, teacher.
Ok. Xin lỗi. Dương Hải Nam. Dương Hải Nam. Trần Thị Hoàng Ngân.
Yes, teacher.
Thank you. Trần Thị Thanh Ngân.
Yes, teacher. Yes,
Trời
I'm here.
ơi,
À,
bạn Nam đang chờ quạt xếp.
Lương Thanh Bảo Ngọc.
Yes, teacher.
Thank you.
Cô,
Can speak louder, please.
Bạn
Nguyễn
Hải
Thị
Nam đang chờ quạt xếp luôn.
Nguyễn Kim Ngọc.
Dạ có.
Yeah. Trương Minh Nhật.
Yes.
Thank you. Nguyễn Thị Hồng Nhi.
Yes, teacher.
Thank you. Trần Thị Yến Nhi.
Yes, teacher.
Đào Ngô Cẩm Nhung.
Yes, miss.
Thank you. Kiều Thị Hồng Nhung. Vương Quý Như. Trần Trường Phát.
Yes, teacher.
Thank you. Nguyễn Hoàng Phú. Hồ Uyên Phương.
Dạ có.
Thank you. Phan Nguyễn Xuân Quỳnh.
Yes, teacher.
Thank you. Nguyễn Ngọc Tô Sang. Nguyễn Ngọc Tô Sang ạ. Lê Huỳnh Thiên Thanh.
Yes, teacher.
Nguyễn Duy Hoàng Thông. Nguyễn Duy Hoàng Thông. Phạm Đức Toàn.
Yes.
Thank you. Trần Bảo Trâm.
Yes.
Trần Bảo Trâm.
Yes, yes.
Nguyễn Thị Minh Trí. Thank you. Phạm Thị Kiều Trinh.
Dạ cô, con là Khanh đó cô, Thủy Khanh. Nãy con có cơ mà mất cô tư.
Khoan. Từ từ nha. Phạm Thị Kiều Trinh. Bạn nào vừa đang nói nè?
Dạ Thủy Khanh nữa.
Cô ơi.
Em có thể nói lớn lên được không ạ?
Dạ, con là Thủy Khanh đó cô, hồi nãy mất con hư, giờ con mới mở lên
Rồi,
được. Cô.
Thủy Thanh.
Cô ơi, con là...
Cảm ơn cô.
Cô ơi, hồi nãy mắt của con không bị.
Khoan đã. Để từ em. Em tên là gì?
Dạ em tên là Yến.
Cái gì ạ?
Em tên là Yến.
Cô không nghe gì cả. Em có thể nói rõ lên cái tên của mình.
Dạ Nguyễn Thủy Khanh nè.
Nguyễn Thị Thanh.
Dạ cảm ơn cô.
Mình đâu có ai tên là Nguyễn Thị Thanh đâu ta.
Nguyễn Thị Khanh đó cô. Thủy Khanh nè.
Khanh. Ồ. Rồi, Nguyễn Thụy Khanh, xin lỗi em.
Cô ơi.
Em tên. Rồi.
Hồi nãy em có nói mà hình như là không có nghe cô, em mới hỏi lại bạn. Em là Yến Nhi, Trần Thị Yến Nhi cô.
Yến Nhi.
Dạ.
Rồi, được rồi em.
Dạ, mấy đợt trước em cũng bị out máy á, xong rồi cô định danh là em không có biết.
Xin lỗi, Yến Nhi.
Dạ đúng rồi ạ.
Trần Thị Yến Nhi.
Dạ, em tham gia đủ các buổi học của cô mà lúc mà điểm danh toàn bị đóng máy quá, xong rồi tự động tắt nguồn.
Rồi, ok.
Em cảm ơn cô.
Xin lỗi, có ai nói nữa đấy hả?
Dạ, có bạn Hải Nam chờ cô accept vô room của
Cô.
em.
Rồi. Cô không hiểu tại sao.
Dạ.
Anyway. Cô đọc tiếp các bạn nè. Phạm Thị Kiều Trinh. Hà Xuân Trường.
Yes, teacher.
Thank you. Đoàn Bảo Anh Tú.
Yes.
Thank you. Hoàng Minh Tuyền.
Yes.
Thank you. Đỗ Mỹ Uyên. Đặng Hảo Vân.
Yes, teacher.
Thank you. Võ Thị Cẩm Vân.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you. Bùi Thế Vinh. Bùi Thế Vinh. Đinh Thị Hồng Vui.
Yes, teacher.
Huỳnh Thúy Phi. Huỳnh Thúy Phi. Okay. Okay, we have checked the participation today. Anyone who is missing? Nguyễn
Dạ.
Duy Hoàng Thông.
Dạ
Okay.
cô ơi. Dạ cô ơi.
Yes.
Dạ bạn Nguyễn Trần Khánh Linh không có bật mic được cho nên đã điểm danh ở trong chat box. Cô coi giùm em ạ.
Yes, yes, Nguyễn Trần Khánh Linh. Okay, yes.
Dạ cô, nãy
Thank you.
em đi vệ sinh, em tên Phú cô.
Em tên gì em?
Dạ Nguyễn Hoàng Phú à.
Nguyễn Hoàng Phú.
Dạ.
Nguyễn Hoàng.
Đã break em đi vệ sinh.
Yes, yes, không sao cả.
Dạ em
Nguyễn Hoàng Phú. Em từ từ. Rồi Nguyễn Hoàng Phú, ok.
Dạ em cảm ơn
Duy
cô.
Hoàng Thông, Nguyễn Duy Hoàng Thông. Nguyễn Duy Hoàng Thông. Rồi ok. Nguyễn Duy Hoàng Thông. Rồi nha em.
Dạ
Còn ai
cô
nữa
ơi.
không ạ?
Dạ con Bùi Thế Vinh cô.
Bùi Thế Vinh hả? Rồi ok.
Dạ.
Cảm ơn con. Who else? Rồi. Như vậy là trước khi mà mình bắt đầu cái phần cuối cùng của cái lecture hôm nay á, thì cô muốn hỏi thêm là các em là đến giờ này là hôm nay là ngày 10 tháng 6 thì mình đã nộp semester project chưa nào? Có ai còn nhóm nào chưa nộp không?
Dạ hôm nay tụi em mới bắt đầu nộp đó cô.
Hôm nay mới bắt đầu nộp thì đúng rồi, hôm nay là deadline là ngày 10 tháng 6 thì deadline là midnight của hôm nay, là coi như là cô sẽ đóng lại và
Dạ.
cũng theo cái hướng dẫn của trường thì theo nếu như mà mình nộp trễ là mình sẽ bị trừ đó.
Dạ là tụi em chỉ cần nộp qua mail của cô thôi đúng không cô?
Các em chỉ cần nộp qua mail của tôi thôi. Cảm ơn
Dạ
các
rồi,
em.
cảm ơn.
Cô ơi, cho tụi em xin lại mail, tại cái mail bữa tụi em có nộp qua mail mà mail nó báo là không phát hiện cái mail đó cô à.
Đâu có, tất cả tôi nhận rất là nhiều bài của các em gửi gần đây. Rồi email của tôi là tôi đã post trên Blackboard đó.
Dạ rồi, em cảm ơn.
Nha. Em check lại thử nha. Tôi nhận rất là nhiều những cái report của các bạn. Như vậy là không biết là mình có làm sai hay không. Nhưng mà cái email của tôi thì cũng post trên Blackboard thôi. Rồi, còn ai có câu hỏi gì nữa không ạ? Còn về bài thi của chúng. Ok, mời em.
Dạ, bài final examination nó cô, thời gian là 90 phút là có bao gồm luôn thời gian nộp bài chưa cô?
Thời gian 90 phút là thời gian nộp bài đấy chứ. Nộp bài thì em chỉ cần nộp qua Blackboard thôi mà.
Dạ, tại vì cả 3 lớp procurement cùng nộp đó cô, thì em sợ là sẽ bị rớt mạng đó cô. Cô có thể cho tụi em khoảng 10 phút để nộp bài được không cô?
Cái đó thì em cứ làm cái đúng, thì còn cái phần rớt mạng thì là cái phần đó là mình cô sẽ xem xét không?
Dạ rồi.
Ok. Rồi thì trong cái thời gian của mình là thì cái option file á, các cái thông báo của nhà trường thì tôi cũng đã post trên Blackboard, thì chắc cũng là đầy đủ và rõ ràng cho các bạn rồi đúng không ạ? Rồi bài thi thì cũng gồm những cái phần của mình học thôi. Và open book 90 phút bao gồm cả bài tập và bài làm. thì các cái bài giảng của tôi nó cũng chủ yếu là các em là học và hiểu bài, cách giải quyết vấn đề. Đó. Và nó đi vào trong những cái vấn đề thực tế của chúng ta. Open book thì các em thoải mái, muốn open trang nào cũng được, là vấn đề là mình phải hiểu và mình phải giải thích trên cái logic của mình thôi nhé. Ngày thi chính thức, giờ này mà các bạn vẫn còn hỏi nữa à. Ngày thi chính thức cũng đã được post trên Blackboard rồi. Đó là ngày 21 tháng 6. Tôi nhắc lại nha, ngày 21 tháng 6 lúc 1 giờ chiều. Ngày thi và giờ thi cũng đã được thông báo và cũng đã được là post trên Blackboard mà. Rồi ai có một câu hỏi gì nữa về bài thi không ạ? Nếu không thì mình đi tiếp nha.
Thôi, bài thi là mình làm qua đánh máy hay là mình viết tay rồi mình scan lại cũng được không?
Thì tại vì mà các em làm và nộp bài thì tôi nghĩ rằng là các em tôi sẽ trao đổi lại với lại bên nhà trường. Tôi nghĩ rằng có thể là viết tay rồi là send hoặc là đánh máy rồi gửi lên cũng được, nhưng mà tôi sẽ confirm trên Blackboard.
Dạ em cảm ơn cô.
Ok. Rồi còn gì nữa không ạ? Mọi thứ là rõ ràng đúng không ạ? Rồi let's start the last part of today. So the last part of today for global sourcing, we talk about global sourcing, we talk about the challenging, we talk about the risk, we talk about how to minimize the risk, and the overall supply chain management globally. What does it mean? At the end of the day, our job as a supply chain, we connect between the supply management to the demand management via logistic management. So we link on the chain from the supply to the demand, and we minimize the cost. That is our job. So the success factor of global sourcing is including from the centrally coordinated and lead the decision making. How we centralize, we coordinate and lead the decision making by we select the best supplier for us. We decentralize at the site-based and operational activity. So how can we manage global sourcing? And we use the success factor as this, the way, the flow, centralize, coordinate, and lead decision making. And then we decentralize site-based operational activity. And then what are the real-time communication methods and how we do the information sharing with supplier. Then how availability of critical resources, and then we do all the sourcing and contracting system, and with international purchasing office support. Those are the map that give you the idea of success factor in global sourcing. What we can do, how can we manage them to maximize the benefit of supply chain in the global environment. Now, what are the forces shaping the future of supply chain? What are the success factors shaping the future of supply chain? In summary, we can remember that in best analysis, the major forces that shape the future supply chain can be analyzed using the best analysis. Best analysis stands for political, economical, social, and technology. Those are the factors that influence the strategic decision making. Now, political factor, that's including the tariff barrier, environmental regulation. For the economic factor, what are the cost priority? What are the knowledge economy? And social factor include a sophisticated consumer, demand, aging population. So we have to think about the overall picture. And technology factor, advance in communication and information technology nowadays. Then environmental issue, there is a growing need for company to comply environmental sensitivity, business conduct, for example, recycle, biodegradable packaging, and reduce energy consumption in transportation, establishment of channel for returning outward product or seed recycling. So environmental issue nowadays become a competitive advantage for you to select the supplier, because global warming is a call for environmental issue. So that's why when we do select the supplier, we do select based on the quality, the competitiveness that they can serve your company. At the same time, they do the green supply chains or not. Because if they do have a supply chain green, then they contribute to the environment, to your call for environmental issue. When we use appropriately, environmental responsibility can reduce both waste and cost for the organization. When we do select the supplier, we consider whether they can help to reduce the waste. They can help you to reduce the recycling, packaging. Some advantage of green supply can reduce the resource saving and waste elimination and productivity improvement. Efficiently enhancement and development of a sort of competitive advantage. If a supplier, they have the quality of green supply chain, I am sure their cost is not cheap. Their cost is not cheap if we consider green supply chain in their business. but they can contribute to you with a lot of benefit for resource, waste elimination, productivity improvement, efficiency enhancement, and develop of a sort of competitive advantage. At the end of the day, the green supply chain supplier, they are not cheap at the very beginning, but at the end, they are cheap. They can help you to do cost saving through the resource saving. If you consider total best value that they can contribute, the green supply chain supplier, they can give you with a lot of competitive advantage. Future supply. We consider about the trend, the major trend of future purchasing and supply. Number one, they continue growing the use of e-commerce. The term e-commerce nowadays become a hot trend, especially can you see during the COVID time. Most of the people stay home and they use the e-commerce to do the business. They have global competitive pressure and the cost competition. The trend is always because we have the open market, we have the global market, unlimited market, then a lot of buying and selling. And because of that, a lot of global competitive pressure and the cost competition. That become a trend. And performance, tracking performance of a supplier, even though when after you do a lot of qualification, pre-qualification, evaluation to select them, they sign a contract with you, but you need to manage their performance along the way. Otherwise, their performance will drop. Other trends can increase the linkage between supply and business strategy. Of course, if we don't link the supply chain strategy with your corporate business strategy, you may go in a different way. You don't have the consistency. You don't have internal alignment. Then, using the development of internet and communication, that open the opportunity for faster information sharing, faster process activity sharing, faster, and limited resources need a global reach and flexibility. We can optimize the resource. You have the global reach of flexibility. In multinational company, they can use corporate resource to serve different sites. And they increase global supplier development. Remember, we learn supplier relationship management. In order to leave supplier to be long-term for your goal, you have to develop them. You have to have the business relationship with them along the way. Keep tracking performance and feedback on time. And my experience with supplier development is it's not easy to develop and keep a long-term relationship with supplier. And that is the process, that is the long-term building and develop. It's not only one time. And we don't go through the heavy process with every supplier, but we be selective and we have the right strategy to develop supplier. And mostly we focus on bottleneck and supplier and critical supplier to develop a long-term relationship. Now, managing the future supply chain. We talk about world-class supply chain management. It connected the chain of supply development to the demand development, supply management and demand management. And we link the supply management with the demand development via logistic management. Our job as supply chain is to link that on the chain to optimize the benefit, optimize the cost of logistic management. Okay. In order to do that, we have three factors to determine company competitive advantage in supply chain management. Factor number one, agility. What does it mean? Agility means reacting to the unexpected change in demand or supply. Demand and supply, our job is to link between the demand and the supply, but demand and supply is continuously changed. And our job is to react fast. How to react unexpected change in the demand and supply fast. Number two, adaptability. Because demand and supply continuously change, how quickly we can adapt the market, the strategy. How can we adapt quickly, timely, to change the market and the strategy? And alignment. Alignment is our internal strength. Alignment each supply chain member interest to the goal of the supply chain. Each individual have to be aligned with the goal of department, of the goal of a company, or a goal of corporate. So to manage on the supply chain in the future, world-class company, that 3A, agility, adaptability, and alignment. Those are the three important factors for any future supply chain management. And what does it mean for agility? Several ways of enhancing the agility of the supply chain. Provide data on chains. That means communication. We have to provide data. We have to develop the collaborative relationship, supplier, customer, supplier, consumer. We do have the market research to understand. We have to design the product that share the common parts and the process. So we have to standardize the product, share the common part and the process, and to keep small inventory. We keep small inventory and We build dependable logistics system. We develop a team to implement contingency plan. So those are several ways to enhance agility. Another factor that adaptability is we have to quickly change in market, change economic progress, and we have to adapt political and social change, demographic trend, and technological advance. A lot of things that we can do to adapt. To enhance the adaptability of an organization, we have to do a lot of things, but it may involve the following. Number one, understanding the need of the end customer. And in a company, we have to understand the need of the customer because we have to show the customer what they need. We have to sell to the customer what they need, not what you have. So that's why we do need to understand the need of the end customer. And in order to do that, in order to understand the need of the end customer, we do have the market research. The market research, there's some company in the market that you might heard the name of Nelson. Nelson is very popular name who can do market research for a lot of multinational company. Based on the market, they do the research, they understand the voice of their end customer. They do have identified in the structural shift and relocating facility if it need to be. Changing the source of supply. Okay, the source of supply, and because of we are approaching global market, we have several source of supply. So we have to define what sort of the supply is best fit your need. Another way that we can do is a lot of companies that they are doing the outsourcing manufacturing, because investing in manufacturing is not cheap. Sometimes it is very expensive. That's why most of the time they do the outsourcing. Some other, they share the risk and they share the benefit with some other outsourcing manufacturer. One of the way to adaptability is we continuously develop new potential supplier. Your power depends on the potential alternative that you have in hand. It's very difficult in the case that you don't have other choice. to create a product design team who understands supply chain implication. So you have to develop your internal team who fully understand supply chain implication. Supply chain implication is not only the price on the surface, but the hidden price underneath and the total cost of ownership. When it comes to the decision making, it is the total cost of ownership, not the price at the very beginning. And especially for alignment. One way to create alignment in the supply chain is to share risk, to share cost, to share reward among supply chain members. Stay in one team. They understand the need, they understand the cost, they understand the risk. And a number of factors have to be considered when aligning in the supply chain. Alignment information. So information is the key. They have to share information for alignment, and they share the identity, and they share the incentive. I mean that the cost and the reward, the incentive to be shared. So the 3A factor in the future supply chain management world-class company is agility, adaptability, and alignment. Remember. Okay. Some other thing that you can read to understand more about the future chain in global sourcing. Of course, you need the development of higher skill set. Need to reach agreement on global performance measure. You have to define, if you work across the country, what is the performance measure? Establish integrated system, continue development and refinement of global sourcing strategy, and greater internal integration. Picking supplier highly capable to conducting global business. Of course, if you go to the global business, you need to sit the higher level of capability of supplier, and to shift from one component sourcing to subsystem, to standardize the process, to share information, to continue the cost reduction pressure, and looking for more supplier in the low cost in emerging market. Overall, you can see here the supply chain technology map from the supplier to the customer. From supplier, you go to manufacturer, you go to distributor, and then go to retailer, and final delivery to the customer. And you look at 3 levels: operational, planning, and strategic. You can see for operational, you focus on production, manufacturing, execution, warehouse management system, and ERP, enterprise resource planning. Most of the company, they have ERP system in place to manage the whole flow from
enterprises,
supplier to customer. At the planning level, they do some advanced planning and scheduling. And then at the strategic level, they manage supplier relationship management and customer relationship management. So this is the overall supply chain technology map that help you the overall picture, how you can manage from the supplier to the final customer at the 3 level: operation, planning, and strategic. Okay. If we do the global sourcing, we do have an issue. And the global sourcing offers a vast opportunity for expansion development. Now can be explored and tempting to new accessible market change. But barrier is always there. And barrier include the need to expand the local markets, the local knowledge to market product and service successfully, to increase the pressure of global infrastructure channel for transportation, and how to overcome the barrier. We have a lot of opportunity. We have a lot of barrier, but we have to upgrade our capability to think about global. But in order to be successful, to act at the local, we know the overall picture, but we act particular. And many successful companies, many successful multinational companies have undertaken a strategy of think global and act local. That is how they can overcome the barrier in global business. Okay. Other question. I have a lot of backup for you just to keep reading more. And before we end up the lecture today, there is one question that đề thi có câu hỏi mấy câu. Ok. 3, 4, 5 câu gì đấy. Vừa có lý thuyết, vừa có thực hành. Nếu các em có học bài và các em có hiểu bài, chắc các em sẽ làm được tốt. Về các cái bài thi của tôi hướng dẫn các em á, là nó nhiều về cái lý thuyết và nó không nhiều về lý thuyết, nó thiên về thực tế, hiểu bài và làm bài đầy đủ. Ok. Further question for today.
Cô ơi, em là Trường. Dạ cô ơi.
Yes.
Dạ cô cho em hỏi là mình thi sẽ từ chap 5 hay là chap 6 đó cô? Chap 5 là cái khoảng vừa xong mid.
Em có thể nói lớn hơn rõ hơn tí ạ.
Dạ là mình thi bắt đầu từ chap 5 hay là chap 6 ấy ạ?
Em nói chung là các cái câu hỏi thi là nó nằm trong những cái bài mà từ khi mà 2 đến nay.
Dạ từ lúc bắt đầu luôn đúng không ạ?
Đúng rồi. Mà tôi sẽ focus vào những cái bài thi của học kỳ 2, tại vì học kỳ 1 thì các em đã thi rồi.
Dạ rồi.
Ok. Kiều Trinh. Tôi điểm danh thêm em Kiều Trinh nha. Kiều Trinh. Ok. Em có tên.
Cô check lại attendance của em đúng không ạ? Em tên là Nguyễn Linh Chi ạ. Em biết em.
Ok. Xin lỗi, em nào vừa đang câu hỏi.
Dạ.
Có thể là em tên gì ạ?
Em tên là Nguyễn Linh Chi ạ.
Nguyễn Linh Chi. Câu hỏi của em là gì ạ?
Dạ
Hay là
không ạ, nãy em check ở
em
tên
điểm
mình
danh
rồi.
thôi đúng không? Nguyễn Linh Chi có tên. Ok, good.
Cô ơi,
Em
cô ơi,
Yes.
em cũng ý là nãy em cũng mới vô sau break đó cô có thể điểm danh thêm được không?
Em tên gì ạ?
Dạ Kiều Thị Hồng Nhung.
Các bạn mua chiếc X-Style mới cả luôn.
Hồng Nhung hả?
Dạ vâng.
92.000 phí mã lên.
Hồng Nhung.
Kiều Thị Hồng Nhung không cô? Kiều.
Em chờ tôi một tí, em chờ tôi một tí.
Dạ vâng ạ.
Yes, Kiều Thị Hồng Nhung có mặt.
Dạ em cảm ơn ạ.
Vâng. Còn gì nữa không ạ? Nếu không ai còn câu hỏi gì nữa thì là mình kết thúc buổi học hôm nay nha. Và tôi chúc các em là một cái bài thi tốt vào ngày 21 tháng 6. Và trong hôm nay thì các em nộp semester project ha. Cố gắng đúng hạn, đừng có để trễ mà bị trừ oan uổng nha. Rồi, chào các em. Cảm ơn các em nha. Ok, bye bye các em ạ.
Recording stopped.
Dạ cô ơi, cho em hỏi được không ạ?
Yes, em cứ hỏi
dạ,
nha. Tôi
dạ,
đang ở đây.
dạ vào ngày thi thì mình có cần online vào Zoom hay là bật cam hay là quay màn hình gì không ạ?
Thì cái đó thì là cứ nhà trường như thế nào thì mình cứ theo đúng cái hàng với nhà trường vậy thôi ạ.
Dạ mỗi môn á thầy cô sẽ cho mỗi hình thức thi khác nhau á cô, rồi sẽ phổ
Đúng
biến với
rồi,
lớp
cái môn của tôi là option 5 đó em.
Dạ rồi, dạ em cảm ơn cô. Vậy là sẽ không vào lớp mà làm xong rồi nộp thôi đúng không ạ?
Thì cái đó thì em cứ theo cái quy định của nhà trường.
Dạ em cảm ơn.
Cảm ơn em.
Dạ.
Cảm ơn em. Xin chào nha.
Dạ bye bye cô.
Bye bye các em.